Bismillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum, ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban bikum, hayya bina ila dars. The second part of the lesson, we will be introduced to the present tense. The present tense in Arabic is called al-fi'l al-mudari'u, the present tense. And generally, when we talk about the verbs in Arabic language start from the third person. So third person, for example, when we talk about mudhakkar or masculine, so we say Ahmad, or for Ahmad, we will use the pronoun that we have learned already, which is huwa. So when you talk about the present tense and when you talk about the third person masculine, so the present tense will always start with ya. So that's how you are going to recognize it. Whenever you see yadhabu, and then the ending will be with dhamma over here. So whenever you see yadhabu, that means we are talking about the third person singular. So we say Ahmadu yadhabu, or if you want to use the pronoun for Ahmad, you will say huwa. And when you talk about the feminine, al-mu'annath, then we say, for example, Fatimatu. So Fatimatu tadhabu. And now we can see over here, the verb starts with ta and it ends with dhamma. So Fatimatu tadhabu. And if you want to use the pronoun for Fatima, you will say hiya tadhabu. Hiya tadhabu. And here we are going to use the verb yadhabu as a standard verb to complete our table. Inshallah, we will complete our table here with the muthanna, that is dual, and al-jama', that is the plural, in the coming lessons. And here we have started our present tense with the verb, as you can see over here, that is with the third person. So yadhabu is the standard verb. However, in the lesson we will come across other verbs. So how will you recognize that whether the verb is used for the masculine or for the feminine? Very simple. So when you see ya and then in the end you see dhamma, that means it is used for the masculine. And when you see ta and in the end you see dhamma, that means it is used for the feminine. So we say Ahmadu yadhabu or huwa yadhabu, and Fatimatu tadhabu or hiya tadhabu. Al-hiwaru thalithu, dialogue number 3. Unzur wastami' wa'id. Look, listen, and repeat. So the first thing that you have to do, as you know, you have to repeat with me. Al-um hadha adhanul fajri. Al-ab Allahu akbaru Allahu akbar. Aina al-awladu. Al-um Sa'dun fil hammami yatawadda'u. Al-ab wa aina Sa'idun. Now let's have a look at the translation and also a little bit of explanation as well. Hada adhanul fajri. This is call for fajr prayer. We have learned about hada and we know that it is used to point towards something. So this is call for fajr prayer. Allahu akbaru, Allahu akbar. So the translation is Allah is the greatest, Allah is the greatest. Aina al-awladu. Aina, we have learned that this is basically question word and it means where. Where are the children? Al-awlad is the plural of waladun. Waladun, and the plural is al-awlad. Al-um Sa'dun fil hammami yatawadda'u. And now as you can see over here, yatawadda'u is performing ablution, and we are talking about Sa'd. So as I explained earlier, that when you talk about the third person, then we will use the name of the person or we will use the pronoun, and after that it will start with ya, and in the end you will see that there is a dhamma on it. So now you know that yatawadda'u means he is performing wudu. Sa'd yatawadda'u. Sa'd is in the bathroom performing ablution. One more thing I need to tell you about the present tense. You might have seen in the translation of the previous slide, yadhabu means he goes, and also he will go, and also remember that the present tense can be used for the progressive tense as well. For example, performing wudu. So present tense in Arabic, al-fi'l al-mudari, is used for the present. It is also used for the future, and it is also used for the present continuous. So how do we know whether it is used for the present or it's used for the future, or it's used for the continuous? So from practice and inshallah from the context, we will come to know that it is used for, whether it is used for the present or it is used for the or the future, or it is used for the present continuous. For example, here, Saad is performing wudu, so that means it is used for the continuous. وَأَيْنَ سَعِيدٌ and where is Saeed? So wa means and, Aina again we use to ask question, and Saeed is the name of the person. وَأَيْنَ سَعِيد. سعيد في الغرفة يقرأ القرآن. الأب وأين سعيدة؟ سعيدة في المصلى تصلي. الأب أين الميطف؟ سعد هذا هو الميطف يا والدي. Now let's look at the translation. سعيد في الغرفة يقرأ القرآن. Saeed is in the room reading the Quran. So now we can see here for Saeed, we have the verb that is yaqra. So again, you can see that it starts with ya and it ends with dhamma. So that means we are talking about the third person singular. وَأَيْنَ سَعِيدَةُ and where is Saida? Remember that the names of the feminine, they do not take tanween, they only take dhamma. So that's why don't put two dhammas over there. Sa'idatun fil musalla tusalli. Now, if you see here, Sa'ida is feminine, mu'annath, as I explained earlier. So for Sa'ida, the verb that we are going to use is tusalli, and it starts with ta. Now, it's not necessary that every verb should end with dhamma. However, if you want to put the sign over here, is not a problem. Tusalli you is also possible. So the mother says Saida is praying in the prayer area. Al Musalla is basically the prayer area. Musalla is a small place, whereas masjid is a big place for praying. Al Ab Ain al Maytafu, and now the father says, where is the overcoat or the raincoat? And Saad says, Hada huwa al Maytafu ya walidi. Saad says, this is the overcoat, oh my father. Now we have learned about hada, and now we have also learned about huwa. But now you might be thinking, like, why do we have hada and huwa coming together? So let me explain it for you. For example, here we say hada al-mi'tafu. When you say hada al-mi'tafu, it means this overcoat. So after hada, whenever you have a noun that comes with al, that means you're pointing towards something. So you say this overcoat. When you say this overcoat, it doesn't make any sense, right? It's not a complete sentence. So how to change it into a complete sentence? Now to change it into a complete sentence, we will use the pronoun huwa. So we will say, هذا هو المعطف. This is the overcoat. So from basically, this is what we call demonstrative phrase. So from a phrase, now it has changed into a complete sentence, and it becomes this is the overcoat. So about huwa, it has a specific name. Basically, it's called damirul fasli, pronoun of separation. So what does that mean, pronoun of separation? Basically, what it has done, it has separated the ishara, ismul ishara, from the noun, and it has changed it into a complete sentence. So that's why we call it damir al-fasl, because it has separated the demonstrative pronoun from the noun, and now it has become a complete sentence. Similarly, if you want to have a look at the example from the Quran, for example here, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن كان هذا هو الحق. So if you see over here, huwa, so if you look at the translation, if this should be the truth. So if this pointing towards something, so whenever you are pointing towards something, then what we have to do, if you want to make it a complete sentence, if you say هذا الحق, it becomes this truth. But if you say هذا هو الحق, now it becomes a complete sentence. And if you are thinking why on haq we have fatha, so inshallah we will learn about it. This fatha is because of kana and not for any other reason. So we will learn it later. But here, if you see the translation and if you see the example, it is similar to what we have learned from the course. So basically, this course will also help us to speak Arabic and also to understand the Arabic of the Quran. هذه النظارة, similarly you say these sunglasses, and then if you want to make it a complete sentence, what you will do now, you will add a pronoun of separation. Are we going to add huwa? La, no, no way. Why? Because an-nadharatu is feminine, so we will add the pronoun for the feminine. So we will say هذه هي النظارة. You need to be very careful about it. So you have to look at the thing that is being pointed at. So mi'taf is masculine, so for mi'taf we use huwa, and nadharatu is feminine, and for feminine we will use hiya. So this is also something very important that we need to know. Now if you see here, وَأَيْنَ النَّظَّارَةُ سعيد هذه هي النظارة يا والدي هيا بنا إلى المسجد سعد وسعيد هيا بنا. Now let's look at the translation. وأين النظارة, and where are the sunglasses? هذه هي النظارة يا والدي. So these are the sunglasses, oh my father. So now you can see over here that hiya basically has separated هذه and النظارة, and as I explained that you have to use the damir or the pronoun that is according to the noun that follows it. Hayya bina ila al-masjid. So it means let's go to masjid. You might have heard several times when I say Hayya bina ila dars, that means let's begin the lesson. And Hayya bina ila al-masjid, that means let's go to the masjid. Hayya bina ila al-hadiqa, let's go to the park. So now you can use this expression, beautiful expression that means let's. So Sa'adun wa Sa'idun Hayya bina, let's go. Al-mufradatu, the vocab, al-ard, the presentation, and the same thing we have over here. You will what you will do now. Unzur wastami wa'id. Masjidun, masjid. Musalla is the praying area. So what is the difference between masjid and musalla? Masjid is a big place where generally you have bigger congregations or congregational prayers like Eid or Jumu'ah, and similarly some other prayers. Whereas Musalla can be any smaller place, like even on the gas stations, or even in the public places like park and hospitals and the places that is called Musalla, that is not called Masjid. Al-Qur'anu, Quran, Hayya bina, let's go. نظارة, sunglasses. معطف, overcoat. غرفة, room. حمام, bathroom. يتوضأ, performs wudu, he performs wudu or he is performing wudu. يقرأ, he is reading or he reads, and yusalli, he is praying or he prays. Now why all of them we are saying he, as you can see over here, because we have ya and dhamma. As I told you, the combination means the masculine third person, as you can see in the picture. يتوضأ, يقرأ, and yusalli. Similarly, we have that means mother, ab, father, ibn, son. Adhanun, call to the prayer. Al-Fajru, that is the Fajr prayer, the first prayer in the morning. Awladun, that means children, that is basically sons and children as well, and that is the plural of waladun. Tadrib, sil bain al-kalimati was suratil munasibati. Now you have to connect between the word and the appropriate picture. So the first one, as you can see here, he is reading. So we will say yaqra'u. The second one, he is making ablution. So we will say yatawadda'u. And the third one, as you can see here, is al-Qur'anu. And here we have masjidun. And then we can see over here, nadharatun, sunglasses. And here we have mi'tafun, and then after that we have ghurfatun, a room. So lots of vocab, inshallah. I'm sure that you will learn and practice this in your everyday life. Mufradatun, idafiyatun. Now we have some extra vocab, and you know that the extra vocab is very, very important. Al-ard, unzur, wastami, wa'id. We have learned numbers from 1 to 5 in lesson number 1, and now we continue learning the numbers from 6 to 10. Sittatun, sab'atun, 7, thamaniyatun, 8, tis'atun, 9, and asharatun, 10. And remember that these are the numbers that we use for masculine. Yes, you heard right. These are the numbers that we use for masculine. For example, our noun is masculine, qalam is masculine, but for qalam, the number we are going to use is the feminine. So inshallah, we will learn more about it in the coming lessons. But here you need to remember that if the noun is masculine, the number will be used for the feminine. Now here it says sil bain al-adadi wa surat al-munasibati. Now you have to connect between the number and then the appropriate picture. So we can see over here the first one, over here we have 7, so this is our 7. Then we have after that we have 8. So here this is our 8 books. Then after that we have 10. So this one is here 10. And then we have 6. So these are 6 books over here. So what you need to do, you need to count and then you need to look at the numbers and then you have to connect them. After that, it says التدريب رتب الأعداد. Now, what you have to do, you have to arrange the numbers. You have to put them in the correct order. So, for example, number 1 is 6. Then we have number 7. So we put number 7 over here. Basically, as you can see here, this is number 7. And then we have after that we have number 8. So this is number 7, and this is after that we put number 8. And then after that, what do we put? We put number 9, and then we put number 10. So basically what you have to do, you have to put the numbers in order as you can see over here. After that, it says التدريب. Again, we have some practice. أشر إلى العدد الذي تسمعه. You have to point toward the number that you listen to. For example, I say تسعة. So what will you do now? You will point towards 9. For example, I say ashara, so you will point towards here. This is the listening part, and the listening part you can go to the website Arabic for All and you can complete it over there. التدريب الرابع, practice number 4. قل العدد المشار إليه. Now you have to say the number that is being pointed at. So for example, I point at the number, for example, here. So now you have to say with me. For example, you say سبعة. Now I point here. So you say تسعة. Now I point here at this one. So you say ثمانية. Again, it's up to you. You have to practice now, inshallah. And I'm very sure that you will definitely carry on and practice as much as you can. التدريب, again, we have some practice. تبادل السؤال والجواب. Now you have to exchange the question and the answer مع زميلك, with your colleague, كما في المثالين, as you see in the 2 examples. So we have 2 examples over here, and what we have to do now, we have to practice as we see in the example. For example, أين الميطف? Where is the overcoat? And you say هذا هو الميطف. This is the overcoat. So هذا, and after that don't forget to use هو. And then we have غرفة. So أين الغرفة? Where is the room? And you say هذه هي الغرفة. This is the room. جاء دورك الآن. It's your turn now. And as I said, you have to practice by yourselves as much as you can. I've given you the example over here. For example, one more example. For example, you say أين الابن? And you say هذا هو الابن. And similarly, if there is anything feminine, for example, here, and first we have practiced for the masculine, and now you practice for the feminine. So التدريب تبادل السؤال والجواب مع زميلك كما في المثالين. And now we will practice about the feminine. أين سعيد? سعيد في الغرفة يقرأ القرآن. So here the present tense again. When you talk about the Sa'id, you will say يقرأ القرآن. He is reading the Quran. And when you say أين سعيدة? Where is سعيدة? So you say سعيدة في الغرفة تقرأ القرآن. Very important. So when you talk about سعيدة, you will say تقرأ القرآن. When you talk about سعيد, you will say يقرأ القرآن. Now we have over here, for example, more practice. As you can see here, we have سعيد and الغرفة يقرأ القرآن. So we have practiced this one, and also we have practiced this one. And inshallah, I'm sure based on this pattern, what you will do now, you will continue your practice as much as you can. For example, if I ask you أين صالح, you will say صالح يصلي. And similarly أين المسجد, and you say هذا هو المسجد. And similarly, if I say أين صالحة, so you will say صالحة تصلي, she is praying. هذا هو المصلى, this is the praying area. So like this, here we have شريف and الحمام and يتوضأ, and then we have شريفة and البيت and تتوضأ. So now you have to practice for the present tense for the third person masculine. So for the masculine we use ya, and for the feminine we use ta in the beginning of the verb. التدريب الثالث تبادل السؤال والجواب مع زميلك كما في المثال من هذا؟ هذا والدي عدنان هو مهندس. This is something we have already practiced. So we have Walid, Adnan and Muhandis. So we have already learned about the ya, which is used for possession. So you want to say something that belongs to you. For example, kitabi, qalami, walidi, and then after that, the third person, which we use for the masculine. So we say huwa. So for example, man hada, hada ammun, or you can say hada ammi umaru, huwa mudarrisun. And similarly, if you say man hada, you will say hada. For example, you can say هذا عمي or هذا جدي. For example, as you can see here, هذا جدي سالم هو طبيب. من هذا؟ هذا أخي صالح هو طالب. من هذا؟ هذا صديقي علي هو معلم. So based on this example, you can practice the dialogues over here. حول كما في المثال. حول means change. Change as you see in the example. So change what? Change the information. And for example, here the example is, for example, we have Walid and Adnan. So you say هذا والدي عدنان هذا والده عدنان. Now here, who, the attached pronoun that we have learned already, who is used to talk about someone, the singular masculine third person, but when we use it as an attached pronoun, we use it as an attached pronoun. And similarly, walidatun, and you can say هذه والدة خديجة. And then for Khadija, you see what you will use. You will see هذه والدتها خديجة. So for the feminine, you will use ha, and for the masculine, we will use who. So these are the attached pronouns we have already learned. And again, as I'm saying, this is something that you have to practice by yourselves. If we were sitting face to face, definitely we would practice by ourselves as a group. But since we are not face to face, but I would definitely recommend for you to practice as much as you can based on the examples over here. ملخص التراكيب, and this is the most important thing over here. This is basically summary of the grammatical concepts. So first of all, we have learned about aina, and aina is used to ask a question. For example, aina al-maytafu, aina al-nadharatu, aina sa'idun, aina sa'idatu. Man means who, man hadha, man hadhihi, man anta, man anti, man huwa, and man hiya. And we have learned these already in lesson number 1. Huwa yatawadda'u, this is something that we have learned in today's lesson. Huwa yatawadda'u, huwa yusalli, and huwa yaqra'u. So when we talk about the third person, we will start with ya, and then in the end you will see dhamma on that. Similarly, hiya, and for hiya we say hiya tatawadda'u, and hiya tusalli, and hiya taqra'u. So if you remember, I told you that with huwa we start the verb with ya, and for hiya we start the verb with ta. And the summary continues. Now we have bigger sentences. Sa'idun fil masjidi, fi, as we know, it's a preposition, and after the preposition, the noun will take kasra. So Sa'idun fil masjidi, Sa'idun fil musalla. Musalla is a noun that ends with alif maqsura. This noun cannot take kasra because this is a fixed noun. Similarly, Sa'idun fil ghurfati and Sa'idun fil hammami. So when we have the noun that can take kasra, we will put kasra because of fi. Similarly, Sa'idatu fil masjidi, Sa'idatu fil musalla, Sa'idatu fil ghurfati, and Sa'idatu fil hammami. Similarly, you say hada huwa al-mi'tafu. In today's lesson, we have learned this. So after hada, you have to add huwa if the noun after that is masculine. So hada huwa al-mi'tafu, hada huwa al-masjidu, and hada huwa al-musalla. And similarly, if you want to use the noun that is being pointed at as a feminine, so then we will add hiya. So you say هذه هي النظارة, هذه هي المهندسة, and هذه هي الطبيبة. And make sure that when you are talking about pointing towards something masculine, you use the demonstrative pronoun for masculine, and when you are pointing towards something feminine, you use for the feminine. And similarly, you say هي طبيبة, simple sentence. For example, هو طبيب, هو مدرس, هو مهندس, and هو طالب, simple sentence. With huwa, we will use the masculine noun, and when we talk about the Feminine noun, we will use hiya, and with hiya we will say hiya tabibatun, hiya mudarrisatun, hiya muhandisatun, and hiya talibatun. And please remember that after huwa and hiya, the noun will always take dammatan. It will take two, signs, vowel signs over here that are, as you can see over here, whether it is masculine or feminine. Then you say hada walidi Ammar. This is my father Ammar. So when you want to say my father, so walidi, and if you want to say his father, you will say waliduhu. And if you want to say my grandfather, so you will say jaddi. And if you want to say his grandfather, you will say jadduhu. And if you want to say my uncle, you will say ammi. And if you want to say his uncle, you will say ammuhu. And don't forget that we have to use hada before that. And we are talking about the masculine. And if you want to talk about the feminine, then you know already that for the feminine, we will use the attached we will use hadihi, and after hadihi we will use, if you want to say my mother, so you will say walidati, and if you want to say his father, you will say walidatuhu. And if you want to say uh, uh, her mother, so you can also say walidatuha. And jaddati and jaddatuha and ammati and ammatuha. It depends like which pronoun you are going to use or talk about. Ajib anil asilatil atiyah. Now you have to answer the following questions. We have learned this already in the beginning of the lesson, and inshallah, I'm sure that you can answer these questions over here. So the question number 1 is Man walidur rasuli sallallahu alayhi wa wasallam. Who is the father of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Huwa Abdullah. Abdullah, right? Man walidatur rasuli sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So who is the mother of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam? So we will say Aminatu bintu Wahab. Aminatu bintu Wahab. Then we have Man Jaddur Rasuli sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So we will say Abdul Muttalib. And then when we say Man Ammar Rasuli sallallahu alayhi wasallam, there are many, but if we talk about one, we will say Huwa Abu Talib. And then after that, Man Ibn Rasuli sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Then again, we can just answer many, but one of them is Huwa Ibrahimu. Man ibnatul Rasuli sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who is the daughter of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we will say uh, uh, Fatimatu, or we can say Fatimatu wa Ruqiyatu wa Ummu Kulthum, because he had 3 daughters. And now Ja'a Dauruka. Now you have to answer about yourselves. So if I ask you Man Waliduka, so you will say Walidi. Man Jadduka, you will say Jaddi. Man Ammuka, you will say Ammi. And Man Sadiquka, Sadiqi, and then you will give me his name. انتهى درس بعون الله تعالى. We have completed lesson number 2, and inshallah in the next lesson we will have a test for lesson number 1 and lesson number 2. So I would highly recommend that you practice lesson number 1 and lesson number 2 and get ready and be prepared for the test. See you then inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.